Okay, so welcome everybody to the second 2025 edition of Crafty Crows. It's nice celebration there, Michael. I like that. I'm Kate Jenkinson. I'm your host for the evening. May or may not find the right words to say, it seems already. However, luckily, Jason is such an organised helper, support, and all round good guy that I know what I'm about to say because these are the housekeeping rules and we say them every time. So, when somebody is reading, please mute for each poet. After they've read and performed, you can unmute and clap and appreciate in words if you want to what you've heard. Please use the chat, however. We love to see you bigging up the poets in the chat. This event is being recorded, as you heard, so please only share poems that you're happy to class as being published. Open mic poets, we love your words. We could listen to them all night, but we only have 3 minutes in your time slot, sadly. So please try and keep to that time limit. By all means, use the chat, as I've said before, also for your bios, books, and upcoming events. Oh, I've got one of those this Saturday. So share them in the chat. We love to celebrate and support you wherever you're at. And just as a reminder, the GPS is a volunteer-led society. Please spare a donation if you can, or consider joining with a society membership. And I'm sure Jason will put some details in the chat if he hasn't already. I haven't had a look. There we go. Okay. So, as I said, I'm Kate Jenkinson. I'm one half of Prickly Pear. I get the luxury and the honour of sometimes coming along and hosting this event. So it's an absolute delight to be here tonight. I also get to read first, which is a real challenge because I never quite know what to set the tone. But I've decided, after looking through all my miserable and ranting poems, to do something positive and actually to share with you where this is from. So I was part of a project last year that created this book, Poetry for Coaching. And it's an anthology that about 40 poets who are also therapists and coaches contributed to. And there's 5 of my poems in here and stories behind the poems. I'm just going to read out a poem which is in the chapter headed Life. And the poem is called Curiosity. What is your favourite word and why? I ask with curiosity, as that's my favourite word, you see. It speaks with generosity for the human spirit, our ability to be similar and yet different every minute of the day. And with curiosity, you can never say, I don't have time for that right now. No, with curiosity, you make the time to really understand each other. Curiosity is not just a verb, it's a noun, a thing. A curiosity is something original and unusual and worthy of understanding. Now, with our generosity of time and our curiosity of spirit, if we made time to understand each other in work, we'd have much more fun being in it. That's my hope for the world, that we make the workplace a fun place to be. Thank you for listening. I'm going to open the open mic now. And first up, I think we've said in the chat, yes, it's Michael Sindler. Michael, are you ready?
Oh, sure, why not?
Yay, go on.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Jason. Hey, Kate. Good to see y'all, and thanks for making this possible. Um, I'm going to start with one I wrote the other day called Free Library. This is actually a piece I started in Finn Hall's workshop, by the way. The view from here is gray and bleak. It changes little week by week. The encampment shrinks and grows as the unhoused come and go. I fill the free library by the entrance, a few at a time, in remembrance of those who gave or lent me a volume that provided succor and relieved the gloom, even if only for a minute's peace. in the printed page I was released. And so I hope to do the same for a soul I'll never know by name, but will be kindred through literature. When from my window as a voyeur I see them wander back into their tents with hard or soft back entertainment. A small panacea, perhaps, not much more. Worlds of words for those who live outdoors. And this next one is called The Rings of Saturn. The rings of Saturn shine, infinitely distant from your hand, forged by accident or design, a series of celestial bands reflecting light from darkness, pointing towards the periphery, precisely the way my heart does when memory brings misery. The rings of Saturn shine, circling planet and revolution, still captive to the pull of time, as is a prayer for absolution. Next to Jupiter, out past Mars, only Saturn wears jewelry. Still no rival to the endless stars who know adornments are illusory. The rings of Saturn shine as they spread themselves thin. The sphere inside confined can do little but languidly spin. Planets pass each other lifelessly, hopelessly chasing constellations. Our faint hopes held tight, some silently, until memory brings consolation. And I'm going to slide in one more short one called Lucky 13. It's goes later. We look back, using distance as perspective, counting ourselves lucky, knocking on wood until knuckles bleed. Yearbooks, baggy photos still embarrass. Triumph and trauma, thump and bump, hung gaze off stage out of sight lines, innocence longing to dispense itself, roaming attention, stumbling forward, tinder trap snapped, captured disaster, 8 times 31 left and counting down. Educated decision puts lid on continuation, not without regret, but lucky nonetheless. Okay, thank y'all. Great to be here. Looking forward to everything, and especially, of course, Charlie's feature.
Thank you, Michael. What a great start to the open mic. Show your appreciation. Thank you. You got some nice comments in the chat there. Lovely to hear you, Michael. Richard Harries, you're next on the open mic. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Over to you.
The first one was they're quite different because I've been angry, political, and also depressed for a long time. So these are stories. And this was a challenge. I had to write a story including surgical gloves and a glass file. The gloves had been clean, indeed pristine, when I stole them from the doctor's surgery. I only had a moment when he left me alone. The file had been full of perfume. You could fit enough strychnine in that, enough to kill a rhino, never mind get rid of him. My plan worked. Well, it would. He was always pissed by midnight, laying back with his mouth open as always. No sign that I had been there. He was drooling. Just had to hope he was not sick enough to expel the poison. I squirted the fluid right to the back of his throat, held his mouth shut. He struggled and twisted and arched. It was over fast. I had on a hazard suit, no cross-contamination on me. Looked at the gloves, they were grimy from the muck of his face. Washed out the perfume file, put in a drawer of odds and ends. Then the suit and the gloves came off once I'd opened the front door a crack. Into a bag later birds. I slipped out unseen and went on to carry on my new, great life after this escape from him. Thank you. And then one called The Will. I'm in a bit of a murderous mood here, aren't I? And this was published, the High Wolves anthology last year. He was not worried about death. That came to everyone, great or small, rich or poor. He was just worried about his life ending before his time. He'd been neglectful. He'd not expected to be ill, frail, helpless. That happened to other people, he had thought. He'd always put things off, paperwork, clerical aid delayed. Once he knew he was capable and could complete even the complex, he had set things in motion. The solicitor would finalise in the morning. He would be safe then, could conserve his strength and recover, have a decade at least to enjoy. He had to survive the night. So very Agatha Christie. Mary Ann would stay with him. He trusted her. He would be safe. The door opened several times. Mary Ann was alert, protective. No one made any move to kill him, but popping in at 2 a.m. was not usual behaviour. Morning came. He had survived the stress of the night. He was exhausted. The solicitor came. The will was signed. Everything was legal. Paperwork, he thought, a nightmare. Should have done it sooner. Should have been safe sooner. He relaxed and let the pressure slide away. But that was too late. As he lay there, he convulsed, had a massive heart attack and died. No luxurious final decade for him. But Mary Ann was now a very rich woman. And a short one, another challenge, and this had to be gory and have a lot of blood, so a warning. Sudden death. She had died suddenly, violently. She lay there. The redness of the sky matched the blood she had lost, which flowed everywhere. Found early by dog walkers, the police surgeon looked at the wounds. He had never seen such things before. He would have to examine them more. He leaned close, his nose almost touching hers. Her eyes flicked open and her fangs flashed. She bit him deep, and he realized too late that she had been killed by a vampire. His fate too. So,
Ooh, I feel like we've moved into Halloween.
well, I do use that for Halloween as well, but I just thought it went with the other two deaths. I thought they hung together as a trio.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great set of 3 poems, Richard. Thank you so much. Really, really interesting
Yes.
work. Thank you. Who's next on the open mic? It is Alan Mansell. Are you ready? You're on mute, Alan.
Hello.
There you go.
Yeah, I've those the ones I've picked out of actually rhyming ones. But it's interesting that we talked about parents and that before we sort of started a little bit from the action. I can always remember a conversation with my mum about when she was growing up, and as a child sort of heard Neville Chamberlain on September the 3rd and one thing or another on the radio and all that sort of stuff. I think we often think about history being, we look back sometimes, we're living in uncertain times now, and they were living in great uncertainty. And last spring we went on a holiday to the Blackdown Hills in the spring, and I realised how many air bases there were that actually around us, and one of them was from where Easy Company took off, which is a sort of Band of Brothers thing, and I was just thinking, and we were close to D-Day anniversary, and I wrote this call, which was in the Somerset County Gazette, entitled 80 Years On. Near D-Day anniversary, after 80 springs run, I was pushed through the lanes to fair Church Stanton, twixt primrose-studded banks beneath budding trees, where bluebell heads bob in a cool northwest breeze, and brambles and nettles sprout June's straggled trap, so round my stiffened knees a carer's blanket did wrap. Their thick ivy clambered up grey hollowed stumps, birds' barrage of song flew above hedge-bank bumps, shed-freed cattle did roam in longed-for liberation, and all seemed so well in God's peaceful creation. But I remembered brothers who with duties called done could never return to prayerful Church Stanton. And the The other one is an environmental one, which is in the recent Beaux-Arts competition. And I often seem to find myself returning to environmental themes. I think we're living in rather worrying times. And this is covered by, if governed by our greedy wants. If governed by our greedy wants, not what we truly need, we are hurtling to destruction at ever greater speed, leaving only to our children poisoned land and ocean waste, hot blanket air that suffocates, death mask and coffin case. So then let us follow caring ways, and in our earthly span, restore our world in unison, true brotherhood of man. We talk endlessly of targets, a stuttering annual maze, yet we carry on regardless towards mass extinction days, wrecking lungs of living forest for a cheaper burger bun, burning fossil fuels, our reckless ways trap killer heat of sun. Come and listen now to nature's cry, or else we must mourn loss. Truly change embedded selfish ways, not recoat with greenwash.
Are you finished, Alan? Have you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. Beautiful poems and very thought-provoking as well. Yeah. We have on the open mic somebody I haven't heard for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to this, Lesley. Lesley, are you ready to go?
Okay, I'm gonna read two. And the first one, this is for my first collection, and I like this. I like this one. It's called The Laughter of Very Old Women. The white hall is empty, so empty, vast it seems, and long, much longer than it really is. Your feet clatter on the planks as you walk down towards the rooms, three of them. One door is open, and you go towards the gauzy white curtains that waft seductively into the hall, touching the far wall and flutter in some seizure of wind or the moment, and then rest. How is it for you when the children leave finally? Tell me, I have yet to know this. Are they nice to you when they visit or when you talk to them on the phone? Do they hang up or do they keep listening, old mother? There is a mass ascension of birds at the moment you walk into the barn, almost frightening in its suddenness. The moment all the black wings in unison work, clouding your vision with darkness, with a momentary absence of light, like death or an asthma attack, haloed from above. The dust catches the sun from high windows, like the arrows of Saint Teresa, and you are enthroned in a golden cloud of light with the sound only, the rhythmic measure of the bird's wings beating in your ears, like the sound of your mother's heart above you as you rested in her womb. And you, old woman, are you spent or do you have more to spend? How do you measure the hours of your days? Are you urgent or are you calm? Calm, I hope, old mother. We all deserve that. Tell me, do we ever arrive? Do we ever get anywhere finally and forever? I knew you on the sidewalk, only by your laughter. Some few feet from the door, I saw it was you, and coming in shy at the threshold, I pause and feel the weight of my feet under me, having moved and ready for movement all the while. It is you, crowned by your white hair, like a Mexican saint or angel, your head thrown back, laughing in delicious seizure, making your laughter prayers to the ceiling, now to the corners, to the floor, and back again. You laughed. You laughed the laughter of the old and the holy, and I knew you as my mother, smiling behind her hand. I knew you as my sister, never smiling, my auntie smiling variously. I knew you as me, becoming you, when it is all behind us and we can sit all together around the table as very old women and laugh. So that one I want to accompany it by this sort of funny thing. You know, they just come to you. What are you going to do, huh? This one's called Golden Babies. The mothers are calling across the wine-dark sea, through the foam that licks each wave as it comes to shore. Across the sky, the mothers cry, cradle the baby, cradle her, cradle him tight, don't let the baby fall. The little boat rocks gently on top of the waves. It has a line that goes deep into the dark water. The line is attached to the hand of the fisherman. The sea is dark, deep, opaque, green, a dark emerald. The fisherman holds the line gently but securely, understanding the pull of things, the pull of the fishes randomly from deep underwater. The fish, the line, the fisherman, the boat that rocks are one, a continuous line that goes back into time, back to the mothers who call me. Don't forget the baby. The babies are flying across the sky, golden, serene. They are smiling, the babies, knowing all, holding tight to them, the pain, the horror, and the joy. They smile. The baby holds us all gently together and as one. The baby will not let us fall. The baby will hold on and will hold on and will not let us fall. The boat is our first cradle. We must mind the baby. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Lesley. I love how you paired those two, and I was smiling through the first one, you were smiling through the second one. So yeah, wonderful performance. Thank you.
Thanks.
And oh, Martin, we can stay with you, Lesley, because Martin, you're up next.
Oh, thank you.
So how we usually do this is his native tongue is Espanol, Spanish. So he's going to read in Spanish, and then I'm going to read
in
in
English.
So that's how we usually do it.
Good evening, everyone. So, el nombre de mi poema es Cinco desconocidos amigos. En una mañana fría de invierno, decidí salir a tomar un café frente a la playa, junto al mar. Un restaurante en medio del malecón o andador de Margate, donde por las bajas temperaturas las ceras se visten de blanco. En la arena y la arena de la playa también. Temblando pedí un café. Me senté en una mesa de afuera para ver los carros, la gente y el faro, como las escalinatas donde todos disfrutan de la puesta del sol. En fin, estaba en eso cuando un desconocido me pidió una moneda y otro me preguntó, caballero, ¿puedo acompañarlo? A lo que respondí, sí. Ese hombre reprimió diciendo, mejor trabaja, flojo, indigente. El hombre se alejó intimidado, desconcertado y triste. Pero yo le grité, oye, espera ahí, volteate. El otro hombre me pregunta, oye, ¿cuál es su problema? A lo mejor, respondió, muchos de estos tienen casa o alguien que los explota. Otros muchos más piden para comprar droga o alcohol, siempre causando lástima entre la sociedad. Inmundos, sucios, sin valores ni educación. Yo solo escuchaba a este hombre. Cuando un amigo apareció de la nada y dijo, mira, para juzgar solo basta ver a los gobernantes del mundo, millonarios personajes que tienen de todo y prácticamente no les falta nada. No les importa a los humanos, deseando más poder, más riqueza y tierras, pueblos o países. Se hacen de la guerra, se matan unos a otros y no son felices. Entonces llegó una mujer, una amiga, una linda mujer muy joven que escuchó un poco de las pláticas y contestó: si el mundo está de arriba a abajo, tal vez es porque todos juzgamos al prójimo sin ver nuestros propios errores y actos. Todos criticamos las faltas de los demás y juzgamos ser perfectos, o por lo menos nos defendemos con algo de lo que puedo de lo que puedo. Claro, jodiendo y criticando al hermano. Yo iba a responder, pero Estrella me preguntó: Martín, ¿te ves incómodo? ¿Estás bien? Por segunda vez fui interrumpido por un quinto hombre. Dijo: amigos, el o los problemas son parte de nuestros días. Es cierto que hay malos políticos, presidentes, gobernantes, vagabundos, soldados y sacerdotes, como el Papa o como Trump, Putin, Gandhi, Adolfo Hitler o Jesús. Pero al final, ¿quiénes somos y qué valores tenemos como seres humanos? Finalmente, levanté mi brazo. Primero, le puse en las manos al hombre que me pidió una moneda, un billete, no importa la cantidad, seguida por una orden al mesero, ordenando 2 desayunos, uno para mí y el otro para el vagabundo. Segundo, le pedí a los 5 desconocidos amigos que se sentaran conmigo y les dije: buenos días, amigos míos, ¿cómo están hoy? Bueno, solo quiero decirles que no importa nada por nada, porque nacimos sin nada y sin nada vamos a morir. A mí me resta solo ser bueno, entender y valorar el amor, el verdadero don de ser y estar vivo, hacer el bien, vivir bien, amar a mi prójimo como a mí mismo, pero igualmente creer, amar, respetar, o por lo menos creer que puedo dar lo mejor de mí para todo, sin caer o ser una marioneta en el mundo. Pero nos cuesta tanto trabajo ser tan solo buenos humanos, amigos míos.
Okay.
Sorry.
So he just wrote this. I'm so pleased that he just wrote this poem, but it's a bit long. If my reading it in English, I can speed read it, but if that's going to go over, I can just put it in the chat if that would, whatever.
That would be really useful and helpful, Lesley. Thank you. We would love to know the English for it. If you can put it in the chat, that would be amazing.
I understand.
Thank you so much. It was amazing to listen. I picked up a few words. Yeah, would love to hear.
Okay, I'll just put that in the chat for sure.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Martin. It's lovely to hear you both and see you both. We're going to move on to our next open micer, and that's my fellow hat wearer, Finn Hall. Over to you.
Yes, hello. This is a new poetry hat I got for Christmas. It converts from Hunter S. Thompson to a 90s rock band guy. So I'll stick with Hunter just now, I think. Anyway, we're going to do this one's called Nobody Will Miss Us When We Are Gone. You know, Bob said he isn't topical, then he wrote about a fight in the tropics. And the subject aren't all subjective, taken from a singular perspective. It's not for us to judge and say what's what's not. It's not really our place. And if you're the same person you were 50, 40, 30, 20 years ago, why are you standing still? The world moves on and the earth spins round and round to the sound of it slowly dying. Distinctly cruel, yet hardly worth mentioning, as pretensions of power glower at us from their gilded towers, protected by the media and grovellers to the economy. For economy, real greed, big business. The crumbling continues unabated, like blood running like spilled wine. I'm sorry, sir, that's not my table. But in reality, we're all relatives of the dead. John Lindsay, where are you now? That year of weekends in the park and separation, light and dark. Your freedom is eroding, even as you're told it is growing. Free speech, one each. And as long as snakes hiss, I expect this overpowering return to the 19th century values to continue. Persecution is not in any constitution or Bill of Rights or local bylaws or scripture text or how to succeed books. Only if what you're fed is a starter, main course and extra sickly dessert by the servers wearing mainstream media uniforms. For thought, they don't want you to think or blink. Just stare at the truth they offer, proffering greetings from the once Berlin Wall, wishing you the equivalent was worldwide still in place. Panic solution, getting absolution, rotting rotten tomatoes, pretending they are fresh, closed ears, eyes and minds. A century ago was the roaring 20s, and now it is the politically supported genocidal 20s, where the only roaring you hear are the bombs, the guns, and the echoes crying of victims of infanticide. And I actually genuinely wrote this one just before Christmas. I wrote it at a funeral. My neighbour died, and yeah, vintage, not gloomy, by the way. It's called The Colour of Dreams. Woke up in a cold sweat in a town I didn't know, unfamiliar places, partially recognized names of people who they aren't. It's a shut town, shut up faces, twisting roads and alleyways that even Ginsberg would have had a hard time with. As my one step go lightly breezing down coffee shop, whorehouse avenues where creatures in scarlet blouses try to wake me from the direction I'm heading. Hey, I know what you're up to. You want me to leave the comfort of my mindset and follow the light under the bridge. I'm not falling for that ruse. We've all been there. I mean, I can't sing and I can't play ball, and I'm not sure about traversing down this hall. It's too long for just one night, right? Haunted Ethiopian castles, if such a thing exists, reveal themselves to the fog clears like a Grecian monastery on an island of dozens, surrounded by an ocean of jellyfish, as the tourist boat offers splendid viewpoints of a memory I once had. I don't fly. I never could. I never wanted to. Neither does the hooker who lived by the motto, life, liberty, and the pursuit of a penis. Cat bites stirring deep puzzles, wondering who let him in with his Cheshire grin and malignant looks as I represent myself at the funeral of a neighbour, sitting in cushioned pews not meant for the 21st century backside. And the organist plays Fairy Tale of New York, an irony missed by many, as chilly morning Christmas cards arrive in unfamiliar streets. No smells, as fireflies burn, awakening face down in the pillow, remembering nothing of the things I wrote. There you go. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Finn. Thank you. Moving swiftly on, our next open micer is Graeme Brand. Graeme, I know you were here early.
Yeah. Hello, evening all. Two poems for you this evening. The first one is called Changing. Changing, altering the end of one to become the start of another, selecting the tools to take along, and to leave what is not needed, what is required for moving forward, disregarding all that will hold back. Starting, beginning what is set to achieve from the current location, setting off with a purpose, putting an action into place, being the best individual version, defining whatever is best. Believing, whatever is the right way for what is living correctly. There is better that can be lived, much more that can be found. You are more when you look to embrace from starting the change to believing you can. And the second one I got for you is simply called The Hardness of Life. The hardness of life will always come, but not all people will notice. Yes, while you are hanging on and coping, they will just pass you by. If you are battling to hold it together, to keep your life in one place, somebody will fail to see your problem by going by on the other side. But do not be the person that passes. If you pass them, then they could pass you. Never seeing each other's problems that could be solved by lending an ear, giving a hand to help them up, to put the pieces of their life back together. Take the time to notice, then see that you could be the person they need. Thank you.
I love that, particularly that last one. We need to hear things like that. Thank you, Graeme. And just before we go to our headliner, we've got our final open mic in the first half, and that's Kathryn. So if you are ready to read for us, Kathryn.
Is that me?
It is you.
Okay. This one's called Changing Seasons. I think it's contemporaneous. Winter's grievous cloak of grey shifts around us every way, envelops each, and even still, spring seeks to flex his fill. Frost fingers snap and crackle, drape branch and tree at will. Fear silence through this night, leave trails brittle bright. So, spring may not yet weather winter's hurtful hold. He'll chance his sweet refrain to visit soft and soon again. More light to hasten his hour, while warmer days catch time to seek spring's stunning sight and gird his glance, bright bird with flower. So I can read one more for you. I think, oh yeah. This one's called Mothering, and it's a sort of compilation of memories, little snapshot memories, when life was tremendously busy, as you probably know. Mothering. Catch the flower by the hour, stop the time, pass and dine. With flying task and ask, are children torn or worn? Oh, hello, bright star fella, crying babe and flyby, moving now from wet to dry, scratch polishing, don't tell her. Love this trap too well, while busy being clean to go. brightening our tomb, wiggle womb, stir the pot. It's not a lot. Chip that nail, never fail. Snag too tight, terrible sight. Breathe love and laugh match. Giggle cries, warm and watch. Yes, that concludes my poems.
Lovely. That was really lovely. Thank you, Kathryn. And we are now moving to welcome our headliner. I'm going to introduce Charlie Sanderson. I'll read your bio first, Charlie, and then we'll hand over to you for your feature set. So Charlie Sanderson is a seasoned storyteller with a background in acting, puppetry, theatre, and voice artistry. During COVID, she started to share prose and poetry online and had a few pieces published on social media and in anthologies. In March 2024, Charlie won the Writers' Rebel Flash Fiction competition with her piece The Road is Long, inspired by her rocky journey to motherhood. Later this year, she will be performing spoken word and song at the Derby Playhouse as part of a musical Christmas show and at the Art Exchange in Nottingham for an exhibition called Wonderland. We will pop Charlie's contact details in the chat for you. I'd like to hand you over to Charlie Sanderson.
Hello. Thanks. Okay, so have I muted myself? Hi, yeah, I have. Sorry, guys. Technology. So tonight I'm gonna read you some pieces that I wrote, really on that theme of the journey to motherhood, because I haven't had the opportunity to read a lot of them, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll read some of those tonight. So the first one I'm going to read is it was put in the Dialect Anthology. Dialect very kindly have me as a member of their group, which is wonderful because it gives me the opportunity to write and also validated me. You know, I think as a writer, you're always picking up the pen and going, oh, maybe I'm not very good. So they're great for that. And this poem is something that I wrote. I was diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 18, and I was put on a drug called sodium valproate, which young women are not put on anymore because it's incredibly dangerous for a baby in the womb. So it's a drug that they avoid with young women who may choose to have a baby. And I wrote this poem when I realized that I wouldn't, well, when I was told you won't be able to have a child on this medication and you'll die if you come off it, because it was way, way back then. It's okay now. I have had a baby many years later. And also I think at that time, if I'd have had a baby, I'd have just like gone out raving and come home with my tobacco and been like, I'm sure I've forgotten something. The baby. So, you know, it's okay. Things work out as they should. Yeah, so this is called Snow, a poem for the one I lost. How could a tree in this city grow so tall? Easy just to stop, feel you grow, freeze you in time, to hold you like a pebble in my hand. I am so sorry, little one, for all this snow. Yeah. And then let me get my list up, guys. I'm going to put Zoom down here. I hope that you just carry on being able to see me. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to read to you is The Road is Long. So The Road is Long is the piece that you guys just spoke about, and it won a Flash Fiction prize, and I was like, oh, maybe I am good at writing. Aha! We just need validating, don't we, all the time? And it was, the premise of the piece was that you write a piece of flash fiction that is kind of about climate change and about hope and just, you know, it's a hard world, isn't it? You guys have all talked about climate change tonight, and yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy world. But this is my take on it, and it's very inspired by my journey to motherhood. If my body were the blackened earth, All the amniotic fluid in my womb, the ocean where the children rested, grew, swam suspended, drowned or rose upended as sharp stars in the wide open skies. If that is this, then the one sun that chose to live, rising from my crust-cut abyss, abdomen earthquake-like, a scalpel blinking in the hand of the man who sliced him out, that sun rose as bright as a ball of fire. And they say these days, you should not have a child, but who will carry on the good fight when there are none of us left? Who will shoulder lanterns swooning rich with love and hold the masses in the palms of their kindness? Who will take the goodness of this earth and make it even better, even more good? There were 5 children altogether. The other 4 died. It was a long road to the sun. Body of mine a poisoned river to the first, all that snow that he could only ever grow cold into. Oceans of rebirth for the second, feeling the weighty resurgence of this earth, how far wrong we had all gone, too hard, too heavy to hold on. The third was a ball of cells, a glass of wine, an ocean of badly timed remorse, silently slipping away into our night of dread, our inability to see the possibilities ahead. My poor love, the 4th, who I was so sure would live, who formed a whole tiny body with everything to give but the tattoo of her heartbeat. How could we forgive ourselves? How could we go on? You ask. The road is long, the tortoise slow, the hare way too fast. You know, at the end of every story, there is another beginning, and each time a new word breathes life, there is hope as bright and as certain as my sun, as real and as good and as kind and as filled with love as is his laughter in his soft cotton fresh snot-streaked cheeks. This road is long and we were made to walk it. And after I am gone, he will be magnificent. You all will. You will all be the possibilities that we dared to believe, to breathe our life into, to grow organs and skin and bone and blood and every single cell of love from thin air. I have 5 children, 5 hearts that beat. One in my chest below my right breast, one in the palms of each of my hands, one in the springs of each of my feet. The road is long for a mother, for a teller. We walk together, gentle, fierce, hope slung heavy, light across our shoulders in all weathers, until one day we rise with the stars to watch all that was ours grow a world that is complete of the brightest type of goodness that we once dared to dream. Yeah, man. There's hope, you guys. There's always hope. Right. Okay. So I wrote this one when I became a mother, finally, after clawing my way to that. And I held my baby in my arms, my little Reuben in my arms. And I remember thinking, somewhere in the midst of the craziness of being, becoming a mother, I remember holding him and thinking, oh God, you know, I need to do two things. One, I need to make sure that when I'm gone, he's going to be okay. Because I think that's like the job of a parent. You know, when you're gone, your kid is going to be okay, if that's possible. And two, I'm going to need to let him go when he wants to, you know, whatever it is he wants to go and do, you know, if it's smoke heroin up a tree or, I mean, God forbid, but you know, I'm going to have to let him go. My kid is quite wild. He's definitely my child. So yeah, I wrote this then, and I think Lesley mentioned boats earlier, and I was like, oh, that's in my mother poem too. So yeah, mother. I am an island of flesh and blood. He grows out of us, lines our shores with salted dreams deep, deep into the night. We are surrounded by a sea of woods, sun-suckled sucks, life force, because breasts can rise and fall like the tides. I am the centre of his world, for now. Skin, bone, tired brow. Love, thanks, fear, hope. I am the dawning place for his first sailing boat. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to read you like a short story, guys. It's my first ever thing that's been published in America, so it's super exciting. And I'll put a link into the thing it's going to be published in. It's this awesome contemporary arts journal. And that's funny, that is, because I did a contemporary arts degree. So it's kind of cool that it's kind of come a full circle round to this awesome journal. And it's my partner left when my son was 2, and it was quite difficult, which I won't go into because, you know, it's private, but yeah, it was a really difficult time. And I think it was the first time in my life, because I have epilepsy, because there's always been this, like, you have to be with someone else in a house, you can't be on your own, So it was kind of going through this kind of big trauma, but also, like, it was the first time I'd been in a house on my own. You know, I had my kid, my Labrador, who's got ADHD, I'm sure of it, more ADHD than I have, bless her. But it was quite scary. It was quite scary for quite a long time. And so this piece it's a piece that kind of got into a journal about metamorphosis and about change. So it's kind of about going through that time. And it's called The Night of the Angel. Upon waking, the silence felt all dressed up in presents. At my back, as I turn over, sharp on the new mattress, there's a man, half naked, half featherstone masked, stood beside the bed, watching me. I thought, he's watching me, isn't he? I screamed, of course. Well, of course I did. No one expects to wake in the corpse of night and masked ballerinas by the foot of the bed. Ghost, angel, man, woman, alive or dead, I wasn't sure. Something ancient. Not God. I mean, what would he want me for? But it was divine, spirit, guardian, angel, seraphim. I remembered the round, flat-spotted jasper left accidentally in the bathroom. Go and get it, something said. I heaved myself away from the hot, messy duvet nest, staggered to the windowsill next door and clasped the stone, moonlit, cool crystal rock on my lifeline. The spirit had hidden him away. The spirit had hidden himself away by the time I returned, cut through with my fear and the electric light bulb. My son was waking. Are you afraid or just awake? I asked him. I am awake, Mummy. You are afraid, he replied. His eyes darting as he watches spirit ceiling dance, and I beg logic back from the edge of unreasonable hysteria. 2 years wise, my boy. His short life hasn't taught him the institution of fear. Yet. He isn't crazy or mad or insane or lit by gas. He is simply seeing what is in front of him. That night, the night of the angel, as I like to call it, my son slept at the foot of my bed, on top of the duvet, like a little human kitten, upside down us, like the bedroom on the ceiling in the museum. Humans are born physically helpless, spiritually fierce. Society, tradition, expectation easing us into a helplessness of sensibility. Since then, I came to realize that the spirit was not watching me. He was watching the wolf. He was watching over me. The wolf, a wild, dangerous old hag of a thing, hunched on the other side of the bed and begging for my fear with which to feed his own. Ancient he was, with terror. It was all he knew, fixed in the quarried foundations of these walls for what had felt like eternity. Mummy, they are here again, just so you know, my son would say. Some following night came more, in the far corners of my bedroom, masked like the first one, but they weren't the same. Named mischief, fear, trouble, tricks, snake. This had been going on for some time. Night hags, shadows, lights that were not lit, terror, only I was not asleep. I had been awake for all of it. Gathered spirits, tricksters, children even. I asked them to leave. And then, on a bout of some rather surprising inner strength, I stopped asking and held my space in love, in light, in grace. Drew boundaries across the bedroom floors, in air, in kisses, invisible to the naked eye. I am not ready, I whisper firmly to them. And they crept away, tutting, dragging their feathered heels through the cupboard doors. I performed a ritual then, in candlelight, in midwinter, holding the space against the back wall where the dog began to dig downstairs, where the cold came in at us unexpected, from the place where the wolf and the children told us they were trapped. You are safe, I told the young woman first, as her figure floated beside me, peripheral and fleeing. I had thought that there were more, but thinking and feeling and seeing are not the same thing. She lingered by the door, where I could only feel her slightness, her lightness. Now she was finally free. You can leave now, I told her. Can I? She wasn't sure. I realised neither was I. There was something holding us both in a trap, and it occurred to me that the time had come to seek our own permission to be free. Yes, yes, I said, formed my words like a balm of silk on hot skin, like a prayer in my head to hers. Go in the way of light and love, go be free. Be free, little dove. And in time they left. The dog lingering a little longer, to see for himself the boy I have grown from a seed to a kitten to a watcher of light. And so, you see, I've thrown logic aside, allowing a child to teach me who we really are, to stand in truths, to know fear as an ally. One day when he is grown, I will need to remind my son of the spirits he can no longer feel. Within a week I was sleeping. We all were. At last, free to fall into rest for a short time. Nightmen came, scraping the road, to hurt me again, the dog's throat rumbling tunes of menace at the wall of trees and sky beyond the front gate. I turned on the light outside. I could not see them, but I knew they were there. Handing my lifeline this time to the cool front door, window glass stronger now. Not this time, I say, feet rooted into cheap rental laminate, ants and earthworm beneath our toes. They could see, feel and hear me this time. The angel stood with me, beside me, within me. No, thank you. From the palms of our feet to the soles of our hands into the night between bracken and branch, no, thank you. In the light made by man, in the one star hung like hope on a rope, watching the squirrel twitch tails and the acorns shake, no, thank you. I have a child to raise. An arched circle drew its line around us, wings opened a breathless ribcage. And we nestled safe, safest yet, protected. Me, the dog, the watcher, the wolf, all the spirits, and my son. Soon we would be ready, and all the angels would come. Yeah, how powerful our own terror can be, right? Okay, I think I've got time for one more. I'm going to try not to rush through it. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to quickly do this quick little poem. This is when I went to the GP when I was pregnant with my son, with my Reuben. And she played me his heartbeat. I thought it was going to be one of those appointments. Are you eating raw fish? No. Soil? No. How are you feeling? Sick? You know, all that pregnancy stuff that they do. And she played me his heartbeat. I was like, is he okay? It's very fast. Yeah, it's fine, she said. So this is called Our Hearts Are Here. Our hearts are here, ba-boom, ba-boom. A herd of elephant run in the hot water pipes. Our eyes, watch the water stain the bedroom wall again. Our ears can hear, our ears can hear, our ears can hear. A weasel in the roof, it's the truth, it's the truth, it's the truth. Bulb tips peer. We're here, we're here, we're here. Early this year, by the back door, by the back door, by the back door. Deer in the field go trip-trot by, out in the night. A barn owl cry. A ferret by the bins, cake in tins, a wilderness out back as wild as our hair, and the thud, thud, thud of our dog's tail on the bottom stair. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Our hearts are here. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Our hearts are here. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you for listening.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
Wonderful.
please unmute everyone. Show your
Wonderful.
appreciation
It
for
was brilliant.
Charlie.
That
That's
was
brilliant.
freaking
Excellent.
incredible.
Wow.
Well done, well
Your,
done.
your,
Brilliant.
I mean, your poems are absolutely fantastic, but your performance style is just out of this world great.
Oh,
It's just, and actually, just your explanations in between poems were very, very effective and useful. It's just wonderful, wonderful from beginning to end.
Yeah.
You should actually see Charlie in the theatre. To be fair, I've been very lucky. I've seen Charlie twice recently, and I saw it in Beat the Blues and a performance in Derby, and then I've seen it in open mic as well. And just absolutely, you just floored it. You just captivated the audience and just a marvel. So
I
yeah,
put
a
in
big
the
fan, a
chat.
big fan.
Yeah, I put in the chat ready for the West End.
Or Broadway.
We've
Very
just thoroughly
excellent.
enjoyed that, Charlie. It was captivating. And we're going to take just a little tiny break now. So please, just a couple of minutes if you can, and then come back. And then we'll get started with the second half. Featuring. And we're
excellent.
recording now. Yeah, put that down in your diaries. And then in April, our event will feature Rhiannon Brooke. So make a note of those two events coming up. And again, if you've got anything you want to share in the chat, please do. I'll be popping something in there in a little bit. But we're about to get on with our second half. So I think we've probably had that put in the chat by Jason. Thank you so much. Yes. Sally Aspden, if you're here,
Yes.
you may go. I'm going to skip doing a poem, Jason, by the way. I'm not doing a second one. So Sally, over to you.
Thank you. So I'm reading just one poem tonight. It's called Light from Afar, written for astronomers. You've barely been there. You've not set foot beyond the moon, and your furthest instruments have yet to travel to even one other star. You've seen glimmers of light, radiation, movement. From these clues, you found beauty, strangeness, enormity. You found a universe. You saw countless vast galaxies, exquisite sweeps of star birth, harsh, violent star death. You saw time warps around black holes and 14 billion years of history. You found the silent majesty of the Milky Way's spiral and a vast web cradling whole galaxies. You saw glimmers of light, and you pieced together the glory of a universe. Thank you.
What a beautiful poem to choose, Sally, to open us in the second half. Thank you. It was lovely.
Thanks.
Over to Ed, Poetastic. Are you ready? Are you there?
I don't think he's here.
Ed actually said that there was a power shortage in his, so he's sorry.
That's a shame. There we're gonna, and hopefully it'll come back on and he can join us later. But we'll move over to Deirdre then. Deirdre, are you ready?
I am. I'm sorry I've had my camera off, but it's just that the internet is so wobbly, so I might have to turn it on again. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you. I think, can I see you? I don't know. Yes, yeah. Okay. I'm going to read a poem called Self-Portrait as Wolf. In the last administration, I believe the wolf was called a beast of waste and destruction, and Theodore Roosevelt also called for its eradication. And in the 1880s, cattlemen attempted to dominate public grasslands, and fence-cutting wars came about, with small farmers forming secret societies with names like the Owls and the Blue Devils. It became a more serious crime to cut an illegal fence than to build one. And the initial advertising campaign for barbed wire promised it would keep the ins from being outs and the outs from being in. Self-portrait as wolf. Hear my final howl. Hear yet another president call me beast of waste and destruction as distortion of his own reflection. Hear my pack track wide open plains before the reign of barbed wire, perfect fences that promise to keep the ins from being outs and the outs from being ins, birthed in versions of camp in new declensions of incarcerate. Spray paint me as fence cutter, secret society member of the Owls or the Blue Devils, and antidote to the venom of obedience. Hear my breath pant along your line of worship in the name of the then, the now, and every hereafter. Hear this, all land is neither public nor private, but communal terrain. Here lies the riddle. If I am your darkest desire, what was, is, will be the cost of my loss? Once we were all wolves before we fell. Once our shared dead haunted high empty spaces as unnecessary erasures of Lobo, Blanca, Three Toes, The Morrigan, Beowulf. Spray paint me migrant too. Like Grimm's tall tales, misnamings misspelled the letters of my name as distortion of reflected flow. Hear how my howl founded the sounds of speech, and watch boundaries fall away in oxytocin rush when we really look into one another's eyes and hear how to share our communal tracks as we walk into our last frontiers. I'm just going to read another little poem. I'm sure you heard about this denial of climate change, and there is a group of people in Southwest Colombia, and they're called the Uwa, and they believe the land is sacred. Now, there's only about 8,000 of them, and they live in the cloud forests of Northeast Colombia. And they gained international visibility in a 14-year-long struggle to prevent oil drilling on their land, and they were successful. And for them, the spectacled bear that lives in the cloud forest is their brother, and they consider oil the blood of Mother Earth. Just a little poem that was published in Cranach, and it is called If It Is True That Humans Are Mobile Trees. If it is true that humans are mobile trees, there is a hidden music in rain drumming rickle-rattle through leaves. Each tree that breaks from earth is melody of wing thrum, opening our imagos to bee hum. Wings that sense the way by frog chorus are magnetoseptic, and thunderous jaguar roar carries us deep into fog forests to sing words into being with the Uwa, spectacled bear. Manoba chases us across the skywalk. Below hanging bridges, giggles of water wake us to sip from Dracula Cinia orchids in orange-scented shafts beside a roadblock. Trees sit in platforms, unite us, sing to the leaf light in our veins. Thank you.
Thank you, Deirdre. And that mostly held out for us, so it was good to see you as you were reading. Thank you. Okay. Nayma, are you ready to go next? Is Nayma still with us?
Yes, I am.
There we go.
I'm going to share two pieces. On the grind, dressed in the threads of adulthood, forging the bonds that bind together in troubled times when you can't see past the wood, harvesting and investing, delayed gratification, grafting out of your station, consume time without digesting, dreams of someday, get your foot on the property ladder, save on indulgences, and work harder. All work and no play. Put in the hours to rise. A promotion or bonus for Jack. Greasing the cogs to pick up the slack. Strangled by the tie that ties. Grind your bones to make his bread. In a suit suited for ambition. Silence, mental health's attrition. There is no success for the dead. Sacrifice for the future. Feather your pension to cushion the blow. Retire abroad in a rustic chateau. Eider down for the stupor. A partner to shoulder the burden. A mortgage to swallow your labour. life's force, fueling the conveyor, together, picking out curtains. Thank you. Perpetual parlance. We parlay on the plier, a quiescent blue rhapsody, tablecloth with fluttering white trim, beyond the cobblestone pier, la vie de la mer, beyond the frontier of the eye, the air laced with grilled sardine, pierced by the scream of the lifeguards whistling ire. A jalabotanned figure unfurls his mat on the sand, facing east, southeast, his hands raised to his head. You beam, a roseate, brilliant sun. The moment motions in ripples and runs into the horizon, and mountains crowned in mist, our words swallowed by the seabed as the waves curled and crashed. A rainbow ocean of palpitating parasols salute an angel blue sky, streaks of gold and silver clutch at sunlight, ornately polished in the sands, spit and buff, the scum cast out with the shingles in the scruff. Desiccant descent awry. There is no darkness when the sun holds back the night, and summer's sojourn cups the buds of the soul. We playfully parlay as the children run and splash. Gleeful squeals of delight splinter through the air before finding our ears, our words, fisher and a light, card games and cigarette ash, bendy cups of ete, fishing seashell keepsakes in the resting, baking grains, heat painted, salty limbs, a sweep of chiseled shoulders, glistening in the smolder. When the dream wakes, only shells remain, and our voices in the sea's basin, where the spell never breaks. Thank you.
Oh, mesmerising, Nayma. Thank you so much. Wonderful stuff.
Thank you.
Having a brilliant time tonight here. And next on the open mic, we have Deborah Harvey.
Yeah. I'm going to read two poems from this collection, Love the Albatross, which was published a few months ago by Indigo Dreams. It's about intergenerational relationships and in particular estrangement, which is not something people caught up in tend to talk about very much because of the social stigma, but actually it's a surprisingly common phenomenon. No protocols can save me now. You were blue, they said, and they cut the cord and whisked you away, returning you to my arms a more appropriate pink. I held on to you tightly, and that was the first time. On the second occasion, it was you in charge of the scissors, and somehow you forgot to grab me, set me whirling into space out of reach of everything, which is where I am still, with dwindling supplies of water and oxygen. Already I've watched the sun set and rise enough times to lose all novelty, and now, with the rest of my breath, I'll remember that night, you and me tucked together on a trolley pushed through corridors, the lamps wheeling over our heads, passing planets. This second poem is about the need for radical acceptance of whatever situation you're in with regard to estrangement, particularly if you are the estrangee. There's a kind of sadness that escapes through my nose and mouth in the night and blinds the windows. I swab them dry each morning with an old towel, but it's always there the next day. It settles on skirting boards too, thick enough to write your name in, solidifies under sofas and chairs. Sometimes I forget to watch where I'm going and stub my toe on it. When it first turned up, I wanted nothing to do with it. To be honest, I'd had it up to here with grief. Yet somehow it found an empty parking space right outside my front door. For months I walked past it, eyes averted, but it soon became clear it wasn't going anywhere. So each year on your birthday, I make it a cake and set a place for it at the table for Christmas dinner. On Mother's Day, I buy it flowers. I think over time it's got used to me too. At night it jumps on my bed, curls up snug in the crook of my knees, and by morning it's sound asleep on my head. We finally learnt we're all we've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. That's lovely, really lovely. Thank you. And on our open mic next, we have Jason. But you knew that, didn't you, Jason?
Thank you. It's been wonderful so far. I've got one poem. It's a brand new one. It was inspired by a misinformed article in the Telegraph. Aren't we all a little bit autistic? And so the spiral goes, ascending, new heights of assumption. Heated air rises to form clouds that block clarity and substance, like weak tea to builders of things. This tastes like piss, said with a wince as bitter as facts to Telegraph readers. Autism can be reversed, scientists claim. Swallowed down with full English to stomachs churned with stuff that will cause a stink. Like exclamation marks that end generalistic statements. Sickly as full-fat vanilla froth with syrup and marshmallows. A comforting blanket for all shapes and sizes. Returned frequently for mis-selling. Repackaged and relisted as new rhetoric. Fact check. Study does not show autism can be reversed. Experts say. And so the spiral goes, descending. Advocacy for disabled people whose days have the gravity of Mars, whose accommodations are treated with the relevance of distant galaxies. You don't look like you're autistic. Spoken from a position of love by family. Blunt as a lump hammer to an anvil. Thunder to ears that cause tremors that scratch, internal seismographs undetectable to others. Without sensitive equipment, like doctors and psychologists, guided by outdated criteria, looking for the right conditions. Effective as using sticks to find water, without noticing people who feel submerged. Ears lashed by hail, heads full of rain, feet stuck in river mud as people pass by in boats and wave. Have you caught many spoonfish today? Gone before you can state. Cephalus gladius went extinct in 2020. like PIP being awarded to those that need it, or access to work addressing needs effectively. The Fibonacci spiral exists in nature and mathematics, but it has to be documented and pointed out to be noticed, like fingers at sunflower lanyards. Anyone different to be regarded as prey. Feeds full of carry-on pylons, bones stripped of context for easy pickings. How ironic that being honest can leave you unbalanced, ostracized by those with heads in sand, as prevalent as myths about autism, and not hearing what needs to be heard. Like reasonable adjustments being made, rare as rain in the Atacama Desert, an ammonite being left undisturbed by each new attempt to discredit its existence, populists having warm blood, minorities not being goats, economic advantages and protections, neurological differences not being labelled as disabilities. And so the spiral goes, ad infinitum, in the fight for our golden ratio. Thank you.
Very well said. Yeah, shame we have to point it out to just be included. Doesn't seem to make sense, that, does it? Wonderful stuff. Thanks, Jason. And next on our open mic, as if by magic, Phoenix, it's your turn. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
Yay.
It's almost like you read my mind, Jason, there. The first poem I've got, I'm, if you like, celebrating sort of 3 years of my autism diagnosis as an adult, so late diagnosis. And this was kind of me. Short one coming to terms with it. It's called Cloaked. Cloaked and masking, blunted dagger. The same, wired differently. I can't find the instructions, questioning if they ever were given to me. Misunderstood from my neurodivergence, when I just needed safe space to unmask. Nothing huge, an explanation for not seeing the world like most. I am who I want to be, and now the time has arrived to authentically embrace autistic me. And I've got another one, which is something, well, not different, but it's a topic I've not really done before. This time last year, I was recovering from having serotonin syndrome. Google it because it's going to take me a long time to explain it. But basically, you can't have too much of a good thing. And as a result, I had to come off a medication I've been on for a long time. And I wrote a series of poems in relation to that. And this one's just called 5 Hours, which is actually the length of time I was sat in A&E for. Seats are not comfortable. So it was like a content warning for medical stuff. Am I sick? Or am I slowly getting sicker? Slowly showing slight deterioration. Sick with a syndrome sent from sertraline. Been sat here waiting. Poked and prodded in multiples. The internal sensations more agonizing than external ones. Numb yet anxious. Agitated yet calm. It's out of my control. My fate accepted, whatever it may be. 5 hours in A&E to consider the confirmation and the impact upon my future. Am I safe with my remaining polypharmacy? It was meant to keep me well. An anti-anxiety pill, not a performance-enhancing pill. To gift it an unneeded platform to do its worst. Destroy me from the inside. Too much of a good thing. Too much serotonin reuptaken. A flood of uncertainty, overstimulation, overflowing emotions and muscular twitches was the end result of a gradual and almost deadly build-up. 5 hours is a long time, but not as long as how long the serotonin had waited to take over into a syndrome. 5 hours is long, but Not as long as the 5 years I've had this anxiety whirlwind under SSRI control. Not as long as a lifetime I've fought to break free from the grasp of anxiety.
Thank you, Phoenix. Any more? Is that our...
That's me done.
That's brilliant. Always honesty and truth in your words. Thank you so much. I have just 3 more open micers left. It's Grace, Sarfraz, and Clive in that order. So, Grace, you're next. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Hello. Nice to see everyone. So this poem is about living in a different country and not speaking the native language very fluently, and realizing that I actually have issues with speaking my own language sometimes, and I get very blocked. So yeah, it was about coming to terms with the fact I have difficulty expressing myself. So, okay. I no longer want to make sense. I failed my desires, and my body screamed loud. Many months and years, and days and projects, all counting up to a break, down. Now let me be honest and speak in my language, not spoken by most, settings or places of languish. I want to be free, and I want something more than the data and buttons, yes, no, and the law. I've spoken outside myself, letting my breaking voice wander on. I battled in public, using other waves, and never had I won. Navigating a world through a bubble of time, hoping and praying for acceptance. Let me burst, let me whine. I know it's not over, 'cause it's just begun, spun, unfurling, undecent, suspicious and foreign. That's me all over, and you wouldn't believe it. Was waiting for too long, and the waiting got freezing. So come in the warm, feel the shouts from the shores, put the dictionary down and the instruction manual out, feeling to feel and being just to be. I'm no longer unwelcome in my realm, and it's real. I'm no longer unbridled against my actions of fear. I'm here all along, speaking the tongue of my being. Hello, loved ones from our place. It's bloody great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Grace. That's lovely. And Sarfraz, we have found you a space. Would you like to read for us?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I love to read. I'm going to read from my book, which I put out, a collection of poetry called Stab the Pomegranate. So I'm going to read from that. There we go. Just dismissing my reminders. Okay, so this is called Stab the Pomegranate, and I hope you like it. She stabbed the pomegranate right through the heart, cut it to pieces, tore it apart, sliced and diced it, drew out his life. She went in with a scalpel, then cut it like a knife. Soon after, blood filled her beautiful hands as she bled dry his juicy glands. She carried on for a long time. I don't think she quite knew that she committed the worst possible crime that anyone could ever commit, for there is a well thought out method, a perfected technique to cut open a pomegranate, and this was not it. And there she stood right in front of me with a pomegranate in her hands. She held it high so I could see. I knew then that it was over, that she wasn't the one for me. The night I witnessed the stabbing of the pomegranate, the night she cut open my heart and set me free. Thank you. Is there room for more? Shall I do one more, or
you space for one more? Yes.
Is there? Shall I squeeze one in? I'm gonna read one called Blind. So this is a bit of a romantic one. And here it is. It's called Blind, and I hope you like it. It's got Valentine's Day coming up, so you know we might get loved up after this poem called Blind. The hummingbird wings stop in mid-flow, Wild waters lose their will to flow. Silence burns a catalyst, ends the desire. The stillness of time have stopped the fire. The cold chilled engulfs me, blinds my passion, so I cannot see. My timing is out of sync, and there is no looking forward, there is no looking back. Clocks have stopped dead in their tracks. Lost all sense of time. Now there is no rhythm, there is no rhyme, for I don't know what I'll find. For without you, I am blind. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sarfraz. Kind of wistful mood to what you just read there. Very lovely.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Look at this. We've left you a big space to fill at the end, Clive. Are you ready?
I am. Yeah.
Good.
Right,
So
I'm going to do 16 poems, so I better go straight into it. The first one goes like this. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou fart more loudly and intemperate. Your wind doth make the darling buds dismay. Oh, sorry, wrong poem. Okay, the first poem is a Cleryhue. Donald Trump. I'd love to give him a thump, rearrange that stupid orange face, and knock the bastard into outer space. And my 16th poem is all about games. Yeah, a lot of people don't like the game. I know that. I certainly don't like mine. I think Clive's a horribly boring, conservative, middle class, shitty game. And Oseman reminds me of my family. So I'm a loser on both counts. So this is called What's in a Game. Imagine if it had been Licorice who flew too close to the sun. If the philosopher Plato had relationships named after him. Oh yes, it's the Plato-Nick relationship, but sound entirely normal. If dubious Giza had led Roman armies, would anything have changed? Imagine a musical called Squeeze Us Twice, Superstar. How would Judith and Harriet figure in that? Could Good King Senseless Bastard have been George III's inspiration? It would explain a lot. What would have happened if Fellatio Nelson had lived? Would we have seen Napoleon blown apart? How different would the world look now if Christopher the Numbnuts had explored? And how was Captain James cooked? The incredibly prolific Wolfgang Have a Day Off Mozart would have composed considerably fewer masterpieces. We would have had Hiss for Our Time thanks to the Prime Minister Neville Chamberpot. And who was Joseph Goebbels? The Goon Show would have been very different with a hairy threesome. Eunuch Powell would not have had the balls to spate shameless racist shit. Rivers of blood? That's what happens when they chop your knackers off, me old mucker. Lord Toucan would have been found. He couldn't fly too far. He would have a large bill from his lawyers and still would have been caged. Maggie Flasher may have been arrested before she could crush the unions. Squirrel Smith would have been an actual rodent rather than just being called a filthy rat. Imagine if selfish Presley had told Colonel Parker to sling his hook and kept all the money. On the subject of music, would people have listened to Attila Black and Peculiar Clark? What if Bingo Star had won so much money at the game he never played the drums? As for modern politics, Phony Blair and George Daftersabrush were pretty well named. Now we have the era of Gone Astray Gump in the States and Deer Farmer in the UK, with Fishing Umac no longer causing a stink. And still the world keeps on turning. We just have to hope that Hadabir Putin remains reasonably sober and doesn't press the button. If only Rottenreimer had dedicated his entire life to writing awful poetry. Thank you.
I really enjoyed your 16th poem, Clive.
Good.
Thank you so much. Well, that made a few people laugh. I could see in the little rectangles. So you've all been at Crafty Crows. You may not have realised that, but you have. You've made it a wonderful evening for us all. Tremendous open mics, absolutely stunning headliner, Charlie, and I've really enjoyed being your host. I'm Kate Jenkinson. I'm often seen wearing this red hat, and I do have my own open mic that I run called Prickly Pear. I'd love to see you all there. But for tonight, we're finished. I want to thank Jason for inviting me along and for being tremendous behind the scenes. You never see what Jason gets up to, but I don't look this good without his help. So thanks everyone for your voices and your words. It's been amazing. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.